Hello and welcome to Guy with Too Much Time, and today we're going to make barbecued beef ribs. And I gotta tell you, even looking at these right now after the fact, I can remember just how good these turned out and how good they tasted. It was truly, truly amazing, especially if you like barbecue. So how are we going to get started? We're going to start by making a rub, a yum yum rub, which is 2 tablespoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of paprika, half tablespoon of black pepper, coarse is better, 3/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 3/4 teaspoon garlic powder, 3/4 teaspoon cayenne pepper, which I didn't add because my wife doesn't like spice, a 1/4 teaspoon of coriander, and a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric. I'll include the recipe down below, so don't worry about trying to write that down. And here's just how quickly it is to get this really quick and mixed up. Now, I do recommend making smaller batches with fresher ingredients. It will make a difference. And again, the coarse black pepper would make a bigger difference or a bigger splash. And you can add a little bit more, a little bit less of things that you like. Maybe you like onions, maybe you like garlic powder more, maybe even like the cayenne pepper. You'll really like that bite. I would tell you experiment to see what you like and how you like it. And yes, obviously use whatever type of bowl you're going to want to use for mixing these things together. I prefer the metal ones because, well, they don't break. Again, I'm just using a fork to get all this mixed together. And you do want to make sure it's nice to combine because, you know, you got different densities there, so some things are going to want to float to the bottom, some to the top. So you definitely get that, you know, mix from the bottom side crazy. Next thing we're going to do is get out our package of ribs, unpack them, and you're going to want to, well, first let them rest a little bit just to take in the glory. Then you're going to go ahead and trim off the excess fat off the top. This one really doesn't have a whole lot. Then you're going to flip it over, and you're going to have to remove the membrane from the bottom of this meat. You need to do this. If you don't do it, you'll just end up with a chewy mess. With pork ribs, this comes off a lot easier. No two ways about that. With the beef ribs, I ended up using a knife to at least get it started, and this was hard to pull off, and it definitely took some time. I had the best method where I would peel up a little bit and just sort of work it all the way down little by little. If I tried to take off too much at a time, it would just tear, and it made it all that much more difficult to get as much as I needed to get off of the ribs as I needed to, because you'll end up with inedible ribs if you don't take that membrane off. You need to do it. It's not optional. It really isn't. So you get that off of there, and I'll show you what that looks like before. Before it was really kind of opaque and just really tough. So right here we see that I've really got that nice and cleaned up all the way down. Then we're going to cover this whole thing with this yum yum rub. By the way, yum yum rub is actually a beef rub, and you wouldn't want to put this on like a pork. But since we're also dealing with a barbecue here, I'm going to go ahead and put on a tablespoon of brown sugar on top of my ribs, because brown sugar and even vinegar will go really nicely with barbecue. So I go ahead and I put that rub on there. Then obviously I got to go ahead and start massaging that, that rub, that brown sugar all around this beef, because we're going to be cooking this slow and low for quite some time, and we make sure those flavors get really into the meat here. And I swear to you that as you're doing this, you almost want to eat this raw because of how good it smells, because it's just a wonderful hearty beef and barbecue and all the herbs and the seasonings. It just comes right together. Now, to help to make sure that everything's going to work out here, we need to surround the whole thing with aluminum foil. I'm going with 2 layers, shiny side out. We're going to reflect some of the heat so it's nice even heat all over the place. Now, let's put that down. We're going to put the bone side down first. I'm going to carefully fold these up. The reason I say carefully is because, well, believe it or not, since you're going to be cooking this in your oven for quite some time, it will actually have a tendency to want to stick to that aluminum foil. So don't put on too tight. I know some people like to put on super tight, but they're probably doing like a marinade, and I think that probably works out better. I'm putting our piece of aluminum foil on top, trying to make sure that this is nice and airtight. And I'm going to cook this at 255 degrees, which gets my oven between 250 and, well, 260 degrees. I'm going to cook that for about 4.5 hours, 5 hours, whatever seems going to work best. 4.5 hours was the first time I took a look at it, and I only put it in there bone side down. I never touched it and looked at it. This is the first time I looked at it. And what I'm looking to see when I open this, and be careful when you're opening because it's going to be hot, is I want to see the meat coming away from the bones a bit. I want to be able to, yeah, see, that's exactly what I want to see. The bones coming away where the meat was a little thinner, and definitely see it nice. Look at that coloration. Just look at how good that looks. But believe it or not, we're not done yet. We're actually going to go out to the grill, and I'm going to get that at about 450 degrees. And you got to be really careful when you pick these up because they're going to want to fall apart. So make sure you get your, whatever you're going to do, make sure you grab it all the way underneath because it will just fall apart on you if you don't. Anything you don't have a grip on, it will want to fall off. And be aware that since it's covered in grease, it's going to probably fire up on you. Next, you're going to take your barbecue sauce, and you are just going to dump that on there. And then, of course, spread it around. Now, you're going to close your lid after you do this, kind of firm it up. This does a couple of things. You actually want to caramelize some of the sugars that are in that barbecue sauce. And what I mean by that is it will actually bring the sugars kind of to the top. It just really it completes the whole meal. Now, you're going to close that lid. And once the barbecue sauce on the ribs starts to bubble a bit, got to take a little piece off there to taste test. I have to. I don't want to, but I have to. Now, once you get the barbecue sauce kind of bubbling a little bit on this, guess what? It's done. Got to be careful taking that off there. Lost a piece of rib there. I guess I'll just have to be mine to taste test. And, I don't want to do these things, but I have to do these things. Well, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. If you have any comments, please comment down below. If you'd like to see me do anything special, also please comment down below. Guy with too much time, signing out.